Oh, hello everyone, it's Susie Crypto Granny here. The date's the 29th of October 2021, but I'm actually doing the podcast for yesterday for the 28th of October. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to do it. I had to talk to quite a few clients and I was extremely busy, because I have a lot of other things to do as well, unfortunately. But no, not unfortunately, actually. It's a part of my business and I really like talking to clients. But so let's just go through the price data for yesterday. Let's talk about the cryptocurrency market first. All the price data, the news that was out yesterday, and then we'll look at, obviously funding rates and different leverages and other things, and then we'll talk about the fiat market as well. So the first thing we'll look at is Bitcoin, as we normally do, the 24-hour clock. Bitcoin for yesterday, the open was 58,874. The high was 61,802. The low was 58,215. And when I looked at Bitcoin, it was around 61,248. And if we look at the liquidations were quite high yesterday because there was a lot. The market was down and then it moved up quite a lot. Liquidations in a 24-hour setting were 276 million, which is a lot. And of those liquidations for a 24-hour, Bitcoin was 51 million. Ethereum was 48 million. You had SHIB 1000 up there at 30 million. Then you had Dodge at 33, and then you had Shibu Inu at 45 mil. And obviously the trading's being dominated by a lot of these meme coins, which the degens control. And meme coins are tokens, not coins, that effectively have nothing behind them. They're just spec coins, whales, and the young traders get behind them and they just keep pushing them up and up and up. And we call them degens. If you look at what comes out of my Patreon platform, we do the word of the day, and degens is most of the traders are called degens. They just buy spec tokens. They don't know anything about them and they just follow the crowd and they buy them as the crowd does, and they have no idea what they do. So if we look at the market cap on the 28th, market cap was 2.644 trill. Volume was 172 bill. It was up a lot. That's a huge amount of volume. When you get the market going down like we saw and then bouncing back, that's massive volume, 172 bill. Liquidity was up at 5.64 bill, which is reasonable, and Bitcoin dominance is slightly coming down at 43.53%. Which is quite good too. And we saw that Bitcoin dominance come down to about from 47% down to 43%. If we look at Mazzaro and we look at the top 24 volume, what the volume was in 24-hour period, we find the Tether was up there at nearly 50 bill. That's a lot. Shibu Inu 22 bill, which is massive. Dodge of 10.13 bill. These things are dictating the market, and there's no substance behind them. We saw Dodge go up 30%. We saw Shibu's gone up something like crazy levels, 200,000% or something. And, they're buying all this crap, right? Garbology. And, people aren't interested in learning. They just want to, the younger people just want to get into garbology and push it up and push it down. But, massively volatile, these tokens, seriously. And you've got to be so careful if you're in these, because they can just fall, literally 50% just like that. Excuse me, I'll just have some water. And honestly, it's not the stuff that I'd have in even my trading portfolio or my investment portfolio. I'm thinking about maybe setting up, maybe clients can have a meme token portfolio, these things, but it's seriously incredibly higher risk than anything else. But high returns, but if you put money into this, you've got to expect to lose it pretty quickly as well, okay? These things you don't trade trade if you're an anxious person or you get worried about your profit, your profit and loss. You just don't go here, because seriously, these things are likely to give people like that a heart attack, that's for sure. So, very, very interesting. So if we go down the line here, Bitcoin did 7.54 bill, Ethereum 6.33 bill. We had Solano up there at 1.96 bill. Polygonmatic, they're really buying. We knew they would. It's cheap. At 1.81 bill, ADA 1.41 bill, and then XRP 1.31 bill. And then we had Binance at 1.09 bill. Now that's interesting, because I've never seen XRP doing more volume than Binance. So And I do think Binance is going to start to kick as well, because it hasn't done a lot, and I do believe it'll kick because they've been burning coin for quite a number of quarters. Now, if we look at the news, the Indian government came out and said they're reportedly considering regulating cryptocurrency as a commodity. Now, if that comes out, that's huge for cryptocurrency. As you know, the Indians love cryptocurrency. They're already into it. But the Indian government's been pro and anti-cryptocurrency, right? Now, if they come out and say, yes, we're going to go into it, this is going to be huge for Ripple XRP as well, because XRP is already in Mumbai in India. But also, India, as you know, has 1.2 billion populace, right? And, even 10% of that is a massive amount of people that are going to get into crypto, right? So if they regard this as a commodity, this is going to be huge for the cryptocurrency market and will be the next catalyst to move this market up for sure. Absolutely, for sure. So, we did see that when Bitcoin went below 60,000, it was at 58,000. It was basically a head and shoulders breakdown. But then, obviously, with the market where it actually moved up, yesterday, it actually went past this head and shoulders breakdown and became bullish again, which is quite interesting, okay? Now, President of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, said that he revealed the country took advantage of when the price of Bitcoin dropped around that 58,000 to 420 BT. They bought 420 BTC for the nation's treasury. And good for them, because they're actually trying to make money this way, and their currency is literally terrible, and they're just trying to make money, and with those profits they're going to build a hospital, which I think is fantastic. So the country's already bought 1120 Bitcoin, and their average purchase price is 53,300, which is great for those guys, okay? I think a lot of countries like this should go into cryptocurrency. There's no other way out for them, honestly, when you think about that. They just, it's something they should consider. Obviously, the International Monetary Fund doesn't like it because they can't control the funding of these countries and what they do. They can't dictate policy or the American policy on these South American countries per se. Now, we have seen Shiba Inu, its price has exploded over the week, just gone mental. It's a meme currency like Doge. People aren't interested in learning. They just want to get into this stuff and make as much money as they can. For no rhyme or reason, they get behind some of these tokens, and they just, basically push it up with, the whales because they can, right? But again, there is just so much risk behind these tokens, all right? You have to be very, very careful, right? A recent study conducted by Bakity Technology revealed that SHIB had become the third most Google cryptocurrency so far this year, which is incredible. They had literally something like 2.8 million searches on average per month. I mean, that's massive, right? Massive, absolutely massive, right? Excuse me. And we've also found that there's been another DeFi that was hacked on Ethereum called Cream Finance, and that's why we don't buy DeFi, people. 130 million was hacked through a large flash loan, and we just find this the whole time, okay? And this is why, we don't go into stuff like this. A lot of money was stolen. And, again, they had money stolen, a couple of other times as well. So this is, I think, the third hack for Cream Finance, which is not great, okay? Not great at all. Again, you don't want to be on stuff like that, that's for sure. Now, Solana came out and they said, we're a decentralized network and anyone can become a validator if they desire. And so they said the more people that validate on Solano, with different validators can stake their own Solano and earn, obviously, staking rewards from being validator, but also it increases the network security, which is super. Now, I love Solano, as you know. We've been buying that at around $30, and we've still been buying it in this market around 150, but I think that thing could easily get to $500, right? I love Solano, okay? I really do. It's a high performance blockchain. Its founder was former Qualcomm, Intel, and Dropbox engineers, right? And it's already a delegated proof of stake consensus algorithm, right? It's got all the big investors behind it. So for me, Solano, and I've mentioned this before, is just a no-brainer. Just a no-brainer, I have to say. It's just an incredible story. So look at Solano. Now we do know that all the US regulatory environment and the government and all that sort of thing is looking at how they bring in guidance to cryptocurrency, and they're looking at anti-money laundering and the whole blooming thing, right? But nothing's come out yet about, how they're going to regulate cryptocurrency. And they're really behind the curve on this fiat income. Because now, we have something like 13,500 coins and tokens. And every day, 150 is being added to that every day. And it makes me laugh because often I have people come to me, Susie, do you know this token, right? And it's some garbology most of the time. And I go to people, crikey, there's 13,500 coins and tokens, in a lifetime, I'm never going to know all of them, seriously. And by the time I'm dead, there'll probably be over 20,000 or so. So, it's just, the market it's just developed so quickly in the space of, 3 years or something, that's for sure. Also, let's talk about FTX. They're doing a lot of great things. They're an exchange, and we do invest in FTX. I love this story. They basically raised over 420 million, from in professional investors. Sam Bankman-Fried is the guy that owns the exchange. He's going to give Menards a run for their money. Their head office is in where is it? Let me think. It's in it's right at the tip of my tongue. Sorry, people. No. I'm trying to think now. Oh, God, I can't think. Their head office was obviously the US. And because of all the argy-bargy with the US regulation, they've gone to the Bahamas. So, because it's just so much easier to be in the Bahamas. And you do find a lot of the equity trading platforms went to the Bahamas because people in the US, if you traded US equities, and I did, you have to have a minimum of $25,000 US to trade US equities and do more than 3 trades a week to get rid of this 3-day trade rule, patent rule, I think they call it. So a lot of these equity platforms went to the Bahamas so that people that had less than $25,000 could trade more than 3 transactions a week on equity markets. And it's just open for all the, cryptocurrency exchanges as well. And I think that is fair enough, right? Now, FTX basically now have paid for an advertising spot on the NFL Super Bowl, and apparently that's one of the biggest games in America, right? So it's cost them $100 million for advertising, I think for about 30 seconds or something, because, billions of people around the world watch this Super Bowl thing, right? Which is huge for FTX, right? Also, MasterCard is preparing its network for central bank digital currency, which is pretty amazing. MasterCard is focusing on facilities cryptocurrency investments for central bank digital currency. I mean, MasterCard's going to be the next, huge bank. Also, we see Wharton Business Schools now accepting payments for tuition in Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is pretty huge. And one of my clients sent me something yesterday, and thank you, Chris, for that. He said in October, credit cards have moved their interest away from the standard bank rate of 17.5% to 22% and moving them down lower. That's what he said. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was just something interesting. I can't see how credit companies are going to reduce their interest rates on borrowing money, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me. I don't know. But anyway, I'll have to look further into that. And now also another coin that we do invest in, which is another exchange which is doing incredibly well, is Crypto.com. And they've spent more than $100 million on a campaign where they're going to do their ads across the world. And apparently they've got Hollywood actor Matt Damon, who's going to join the crypto firm as a brand investor, as the exchange tries to get more and more people to use their their platform, right? And I think this is super. And we're invested in Crypto.com Crow, and it's only about 20 cents, and it's very, very cheap. It's one of our blue chip assets for cryptocurrency. So they're going to spend about 100 million on the campaign, and it's going to have ads by, Mr. Matt Damon. And, it's going to be airing apparently in 20 odd different countries in the world, which is huge for crypto.com, I have to say, right? It's big story, huge story in itself. Now, Cosmos-based DEX called Osmosis, what a great name for that, raises 25 million from a consortium of investors, right? And that's a really, really good story for Cosmos, Adam, which we love as well, which I also regard as a cryptocurrency blue chip, okay, for sure. Now, Cosmos apparently allows its developers to build customized automated market makers with sovereign liquidity pools, okay? And there's governments and staking and all that sort of business. Also, even NFTs are selling candid photos of Donald Trump, and they're up for sale on Ethereum, right? For 240 Ethereum, which I find incredible. I mean, wow, 240 Ethereum, that's a lot of money, right? Wow, which is roughly $1 million if you want to buy one, right? That's incredible. Now, Binance Smart Chain, which I love, registered 1.5 billion in transactions on their network, right? They are killing Ethereum, and Ethereum should not be where its price is, people, that's for sure. Binance should be there or something else, because Ethereum is too expensive for what it does, right? And I'll say this again, Ethereum is going to bleed. It is old blockchain, proof of work, right? Binance is killing it in every way. And, they're making so much money, hand over fist, and they burn their own coin every quarter out of the profitability of their business, which is just a cash cow, I have to say, right? Now, also, they've hired more and more other employers, big, senior employers, because of all this regulatory and compliance stuff, right? And they've employed a guy to be the chief communications officer, and this fellow's name is Patrick Hillman, and he used to work for GE and Heldman, and he's been around for a long time. So he's going to be responsible for Binance's public affairs division. And this is, Binance have employed a heap of people for regulatory compliance and everything all over the world, right? Now, Hedera Hashgraph, DBS, which is the largest bank in Singapore, are now on their governing council, which is good for them. Coinbase had an outage on the 28th, and again 27th, 28th, and for a large exchange that should not happen, people, seriously. And that's why I don't like Coinbase, I have to say. Chainlink is putting on more and more clients now. Cartesi is using their integrated feeds, and they're pricing Oracle feeds, okay? They just keep putting on more and more clients, and we love Chainlink. That is another blue chip, people, that puts on clients every day, like 2 clients a day, okay? It's just an amazing story. Also, a Lunarswap project launches itself on Stellar, and apparently this is something like, it's something like a lottery or something like that, where real people have a chance to make great rewards. I don't know how this is going to work, but it's something I wouldn't mind having a look at, right? It's like a lottery, and it's decentralized exchange called Lunarswap, and it gives people a chance to win on lotteries and all this sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting. You can earn rewards with this, and it's different to a traditional lottery model. Now, also, Binance came out and said they're going to support Songbird SGB for XRP holders, which is great. And thanks, Marty, for sending that to me. We hope that's real, that it's not false, but that's what we got told anyway. So let's have a look at the social media. The worldwide searches, it was Shibu Inu, Yushi, Samoa Coin, Camu Inu, Dogecoin, Fandom, Shopping.io. On Lunar Lush, we had Shibu Inu again, we had Bitcoin, we had Dogecoin, Ethereum, Floki, we had Cardano, Tezzy, PancakeSwap, and Yield App. When we looked at the Fear Greed Index, on the 28th, it was 66 after that sell-off of 10% or so. The day before, it was 73. Last week, it was 84. And last month, it was 25. When we look at the leverage on the markets, we find that leverage is around 0.183, which is not much. It's less than 20%, the leverage. And I like to look at the leverage because it's very, very important. And also, when we look at the derivatives, right, for Bitcoin and Ethereum, we find, looking at the spot rate of Bitcoin at 61,046 at the time, the derivatives curve, basically October price was 61,240. And then we go to March 2022, the price is 63,155. And the derivatives curve was up about 3.68 to about 4.45%. When the physical Bitcoin curve was up 3.11%, which gives us information, people. It basically tells us the traders are buying more derivatives to get more positions on, okay? So when we looked at Ethereum, the physical price was 4,204. It was up 5.1%. And when we looked at the derivatives curve, we found that, it was about 4.55% up to 5.29%. And Ethereum's price to March 2022 was 4,396. So in contango, both of those curves, right, which is also important for us to know, which means it's bullish, right? The traders and the professionals expect a bullish market. When we looked at Bitcoin options, there were still very long options, long about, what have we got, 720 less 372 puts, okay? So, that has come back a bit. But in December is the main maturity for those options, and the maturity in December is 458 call options against 39 million 39 million market value of put options. Okay, if we look at Ethereum, we find they have more options, call options, right, of about 530 million, right. Which a lot of that is maturing again, as I said, in December, 390 mil, right. Also, when we look at liquidity, the liquidity score overall was about 5.6 billion. Binance is up there at 75%, highest liquidity out of all the exchanges, which is important. It's out of 100. Coinbase is at 62, FTX is 66, Crypto.com liquidity is going higher at 60, Hubi 53, KuCoin 49, and OKEx 45, and Gate.io at 36. If we look at volatility for specific cryptocurrencies can be mixed, right? If we look at ADA, it was up, it's 169.20, which is the volatility has been quite high. And that's why we haven't been buying ADA, because it affects the Sharpe ratio, the risk-adjusted return. With a higher volatility, your Sharpe ratio is going to be lower, and that's why we haven't been buying ADA. For 1 unit of risk, ADA is going to give us a unit of risk return much less than, say, something else with a lower volatility, okay? If we look at Binance, the volatility is 106 and slightly higher. If we look at BTC, the volatility was 59 and higher. I'm just rounding these, people, okay? Chile's was 120 higher. This is after the sell-off, okay? BTT was 82. And you expect volatility to be higher after a sell-off, okay? Ethereum was 75 and up. And that was higher. FTX was 99 higher. All the volatilities were up. And we do see that XRP was at 77 higher. If we compare that to Stella's volatility was at 85, okay? So after a sell-off, we always find volatility is much higher, right? Now, if we go to our funding rates, we see that Binance's funding rate was negative 0.1113, which means they're selling. Also, we see BSV, they were selling 1 inch, which was negative 0.2820. I'm just pricking the highest ones here. Acro was high. They were selling Wi-Fi. They were selling ASX. That was negative 0.10. They were also selling IOTA, negative 0.263. They were selling Dawn, negative 0.4152. If we look at the 3-day stats, for example, what can we glean from that? We find, what were they buying? They were buying, what's that one? Shibu Inu. They were buying a little bit of XRP. They were buying Hubi token, and they were also buying BTT. That's interesting. If we look at the 7-day stats, they were selling Link. They were selling VeChain. What else were they doing? Looking through this. And that was pretty much it. Oh, and they were buying Oak the exchange, okay? If we look at 30-day exchange, they were selling DOT, they were buying Bell, and that's pretty much it looking at that. Oh, and they were selling Link as well for the 30-day stats, right? Now, let's go to the fiat market, people. The fiat market, the equity markets are still pretty high at the moment. The Dow at the time was 35,641, the S&P 45,832, and the Nasdaq was 15,724. And if we look at the Russell 2000, which is a bigger index for over 2,000 shares, that was a 227 and moving higher. The VIX was at 16.29, still very low, which means the equity guys and girls are not that worried about the market in terms of their risk. But if you look at their put options and call options, they have more puts in place, which is a defensive strategy. So 1.68 puts compared to one call option. It means that they're expecting a market sell-off and they've got defensive positions of puts, right? If we look at the yield curve, Australian yields went up right up across the board, okay, massively. You know, if you look at the 3-year yield in Australia, it went up 19 basis points, which is massive because they got that inflation data out, which was higher than they expected. As I said before, people, we have hyperinflation, stagflation, hyperinflation, whichever way you want to call it. Excuse me, I'll just have a drink. Australia's 3-year bond rate went up 19 basis points, right, to 1.117. That's a massive move, right? Year to date, that rate's up 98 basis points, right? The 10-year bond rate was at 1.939, up 10.5 basis points. So there was a flattening because they're expecting rate rises. You always get curve flattening when they expect a rate rise. Even Germany's rates, which are still negative, a 10-year bond rate over there is negative 0.13. It was up 4.5 basis points. That's a massive rate of change, people, massive. If we look at the UK 10-year rate, it was up 3.5 basis points at 102. But if you look at the 3-year rate or the 1-year rate, they were up 10 basis points, okay? The US 10-year rate was up 2.5 and it was at 1.575, but the short end was up a lot more, okay? If we look at high-grade credit spreads, they're all negative, okay? They're negative about 1.5% month to date. And if you look at international credit, emerging market credit, it's down 3.7%, which is not great for equity markets, but the equity market is not reacting to that. If we look at the fiat currencies, we found that US yen was 113.49 weaker, US CAD was 12351, British pound was 1.3792, the Aussie was at 75.45 because rates are going higher, okay? But we do find when we look at commodities are up across the board. Oil is up 9% month on month. Brent crude is up 6%. Heating oil up 8%. Gasoline up 9.5%. This is just month to date. Copper up 4%. Gold up 2%. Coal up 6%. Silver up 6%. Cotton is 11.5% up. Wheat's up 9%. Coin 5.73%. Food product is going up, people, massively, right? And we've seen that all over in the last couple of years. Food price inflation is through the roof, okay? Through the roof. And we do have corporate spreads moving up and prices going down and yield going up, interest rates going up. Equity market's not doing anything, but I do believe that will come off, and I do believe the cryptocurrency market is a hedge against inflation. If I look at my trading models for that sell-off, you know, where they were basically even Steven. Bullish was 559 and bearish, slightly bearish at 580, but the market bounced back really fast. Seriously, I was hoping for another day of market sell-off and we didn't get it. And it bounced back incredibly fast, which for me tells me this is a very, very bullish market. Anyway, guys and girls, I'll do the podcast for today as well. Sorry, I got very busy yesterday, but this is the podcast for the 28th. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll be back to you with the podcast for today. Thank you.